It's my favorite chapter. All 40 of them, my favorite chapter. And so we love each and every one of these chapters, and we appreciate your measure there that you gave on that chapter. So I got a feeling that our grand sheik may be ready now to give his measure, his demonstration on chapter 23, home instructions for thy children there. Grand sheik.
Islam. Are you able to hear me? Let me make sure they can hear me.
Coming through there sharp and clear.
Make sure everybody can hear me while I'm live real quick.
Might want to bring the volume up a little bit more if you can.
Bring it up a little bit more.
I got a feeling that
all right, there it is.
Ready now to
I think it's good now. Hold on 1 second. Check. Okay, I think I'm good now. So what I want to do is, let me cut this down. Check. Where that sound coming from? Check. Let me mute myself here. Check. I'm hearing something.
No, we can't hear you.
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where I'm hearing myself at. Check 1 2. Check. Somebody listening to me on there? It's bleeding through. Mute your mics. Make sure everybody is muted. All right, check. Sound like somebody coming through. Check. What is that? Hold up.
Oh, that's me.
Okay, check. Did you just mute yourself? Okay, there it is. I think that's it right there. Okay.
Okay, we can't hear you again.
Hold up.
Check.
Why can't you hear me? You muted me.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right, mute yourself real quick. Make sure I don't hear the feedback. Hopefully y'all can hear me online. But anyway, first and foremost, I rise, I give praise to the great God of the universal law. I give honor to his prophet Noble Drew Ali. Let me turn this down a little bit. 1 second. Check. So first and foremost, I rise, I give praise to the great God of the universal law. I give honor to the prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to the forerunner of the prophet, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honor to everything was given honor to before me, and I give a special honor to the Moors of the Moorish Science Temple of America, styled as the Noble Temples. Because y'all make it hard on me. Y'all studying making it hard on me. Y'all be looking at these words like we've been studying for the past year, 6 months and 3 months. And the more you study these words, the more the lesson unfolds to you. And so you make it a little hard on me because now I got to unfold that which was unfolded. Y'all understand what I'm saying? But the good thing about it is I'm not surrounded by people who take this for a joke. I'm not surrounded by people that take these lessons lightly. I'm surrounded by people that study these lessons, and if I was to fall, they got the knowledge and wisdom to pick me up. And they got the knowledge and wisdom to take the lead if I decide to be the prodigal son. We're talking about tonight the holy instructions for thy children. Family, I'm going to tell you, this is the divine science of parenting. If you, and I mean this, I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what you have faith in. I'm going to say it like I always said. I don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, atheist, or whatever you want to call yourself this week. I have faith and confidence in the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and that these teachings are universal and can be applied to anybody, anywhere, at any time. I don't care if there's the Eskimo with the igloo and the little child acting a fool in the igloo. If the little child playing with matches in the igloo, ready to melt the igloo, these divine sciences in this book can set that igloo house in order. Without a doubt. That you know the child shouldn't be playing with matches in the igloo. We got an answer for it up in here. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is no joke. Nah, he ain't rock him a law, but he's a law prophet. He ain't no joke. I'm trying to tell you, and watch how I break it down. But the first thing that we got to address, I want parents to know. I want mothers to know. I want fathers to know. I want everybody to know. Listen, I got experience in this area. I'm the type of person that sacrificed everything for my children. I put it all on the line. Let me tell you, I used to be rough around the edges. I used to like the club sometime. No, I used to like it a lot. Don't get it twisted. I put it all on the line. I'm trying to tell you, I remember when I first considered, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm going to reminisce. I love this chapter because people that are parents and they face difficulties and they face highs, they face lows, and many become discouraged. But I'm telling you today, don't be discouraged. I'm about to give you the divine science of parenting. It's a divine science. And let me tell you something. I remember I used to smoke them old Newports. Yeah. When I was ready to give the Prophet Noble Drew Ali my all, I was ready to give the teachers my all, I used to be a closet smoker. I would go out the house into the back and peek so the boys wouldn't see me. I'm talking about my sons. And I've been puffing the Newport. I said, man, this is some foolish stuff right here. I thought I knew the science. I'm trying to tell you, but I didn't want them to see me smoking a Newport. I didn't mind if they smelled the secondhand smoke. Long they don't see when I create the secondhand smoke. You follow me? But anyway, we're talking about the divine science of parenting. I remember when I woke up like it was yesterday, and I gave my children my all. I'm trying to tell you. I put the cigarette down. I put the club down. I put the hanging out down. I put the Koran in my hand. And I just started to study. I began to work hard. I began to sacrifice the things that I thought meant something for the things that truly meant something. And guess what? It didn't mean a hill of beans. I got one son that loved to act a fool every now and then. My son Keenan, good goodness and gracious, he put them hands on you. Man, you can't take two words to old Keenan. Keenan put them hands on you. I got to grab Keenan all the time. Keenan, don't do that. I got another son, Tariq. Y'all might have seen him. We always was side by side. Y'all seen him before. Go check the side net of videos. My son Tariq, my oldest son, shoot, he got a little bit older, got a little girlfriend. Man, I hardly hear from him these days. Good goodness and gracious. But then let me talk to him. He might act like I ain't miss a beat. Oh, Daddy, I'm busy. Busy for 100 years? Good goodness and gracious. That's a lot of busy. But whatever the case may be, even my son Taji, oh my goodness, there's a whole bunch of stories I can share with you. But I'm going to tell you, don't be discouraged. Don't lose your mind, even if your child is lost or even lost their mind. There's hope. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us, says, let hope be your forever beacon light. I want you to hear me slow now. Don't lose your mind if your child has lost his or her mind, or even if your child is lost. Don't lose your mind. Let's set the stage for this verse. Now we got to remember perspective. Whenever you are studying the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, don't you ever forget those in the Moorish Science Temple of America styled as the Noble Temple. Don't you ever forget context. Don't you ever forget context. I want y'all to remember context as I break down this divine science. Don't lose your mind. Remember context. Now, when we're looking at the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we got to go to chapter 1. That man is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. And many people have seen me before to do the paper demonstration. And I would take the paper and say, this is Allah. And when we break this paper up, all of this is still the same Allah. Walk with me, family. I love the paper demonstration because it's very basic and simple. No matter what shape this paper come in, it's still a part of the same paper. Now, when this piece goes this way, this piece goes that way, that piece goes that way, and all of it goes whichever way, it's still the same paper. Now, for you to put that paper back together that just went every which way may be a little bit complicated, but it is possible. Now, context. These pieces of paper is a part of the greater whole. Each part of this paper, let's equate that to the seed or to the child. You are one, your child is one. You don't own this. You don't own this. We became the Lord of the plane of things made manifest. We became the landlord. In other words, we manage the land which this dwells in. Many of us this is high science now. Many of us assume that we own our children. You don't own your children. Something that you own, something that you possess, you can control. Your children is of God, and you are the caretaker of that. You are the husbandman or woman of that seed that comes from God. And man and woman is only the portal in which that seed comes through. And when that seed come through you, you becomes the caretaker of the God seed. Now, this is divine science. This ain't for everybody. This is for those who wish to understand the divine science of parenting. And you can understand why things go the way that they go. Now, when that seed comes through the portal of you and that sister or that sister and that brother, when that seed comes through you, it's up to you to be the caretaker, to be the husbandman, to be the husbandwoman, to be the landlord of that. You are the one, as seeds and fruits called produce, you need to manage the produce. Ain't that what we call fruits and vegetables produce? If you produce a life, it's up to you to make sure that it ripen. It's up to you. Don't trip though, because anybody that does gardening very well know that every fruit don't always ripen to the point where you can actually consume it. See, Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is amazing. Prophet Noble Drew Ali teaches us, weep not at the calamities of the human state, but laugh at its follies. He said, death is no enemy to man, but it is a friend. And if you cry before a situation, you cry too much. So in other words, all fruit on every tree, all of them don't mature to the state that they can be used for consumption. But the seed within the fruit is still good. The seed in the fruit is still good. No matter what the farmer do, no matter what the cultivator do, no matter what the grower do, all the fruit is not going to grow to maturity. Y'all hear what I'm saying, Brother Mizzou? Do you cry because all the fruit don't grow to maturity on your apple tree? Do you cry because all the fruit don't grow to maturity on your pear tree? You continue to make sure that the roots are still healthy. You continue to make sure that the pruning is done. You continue to make sure, that the fruit that comes from your loins, no matter wherever it may be on that tree, that it gets the proper nurturing. But you still pay attention to the fruit that's not going to make it. But it's not over, because the fruit that you see is really not the fruit. It's the seed that's in the fruit that's important. Man, talk to him, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So the divine science of parenting is this: do your best with what you have. But the best of what you have, if only going to do what the fruit was designed to do in the first place, because that seed got a destiny of its own. Did you hear me? That seed came through you with a destiny of its own. No matter how much you put in, no matter how much work you think you did, no matter how much failure you believe that you have done, it doesn't make a bit of difference, because our prophet teaches us that all will be redeemed by the things on which you suffer on the plane of things made manifest in the plane of soul. In other words, this soul that came through you is here to gain perfection. And no matter what the soil in which it has been inhibiting is conducive for that growth and development. It's conducive for that growth and development. See, we weep at death. We weep because we don't understand the divine science. See, when God sends a prophet, he sends a divine message. This comes from our ancient forefathers by his prophet. He sends a divine message. And you have to understand this message from experience. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali opens up. Let's start with this. In chapter 6, he said, chapter 6, verse 11, he said, and when he saw Jesus, he was climbing the 12-step ladder. We're going to remember that 12-step ladder in a minute. See, I'd like to teach this organically. I like to teach this from the perspective of my experience, and I want to teach it from the perspective of which I can utilize the moment I sit the book down. And if you're listening to me, you'll be able to, that was just the setup. I just set the stage. Now we're going to break it on down. You probably said, whoa, now we're going to break it on down. Now we're going to break it on down. How low can you go? Then you get on low. Can you get to the flow? And then we're going to raise it on back up. So verse 1 says, consider. Honor to my brother who said, I thought about that. I saw, he said, means to think. Consider. Isn't it what the prophet said? If I can get you to think, you can save yourself. Consider. One thing that we don't do very much of is consider in our unconscious state. So in your unconscious state, you have done some things, but you are conscious today. Now, the time is right, and you must consider. Consider, think, thou art a parent. Consider, listen to the words. I'm going to say it slow. Consider, comma. Anybody know grammar? Consider, comma. That's one thought. Thou art a parent, comma. That's another thought. Whether you have children or not, you are a parent. Because this here is the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a community. And it takes a village to raise a what? Child. So it said, consider thou art. It ain't saying consider you a parent. Nah. This say consider, comma, thou art. You are a parent, no matter who you are. If you are part of the Asiatic race, you are a parent. That child in your neighborhood, you bet the parent. We don't know what parent mean no more. That just mean nurturing. That mean rearing. That don't mean that it came from your loins all the time. It said consider, comma, thou art a parent. You are a parent. And until we begin to understand this basic line right here, these children and the future generations going to do what they do. But it said, consider thou art a parent. The importance of thy trust. The being thou hast produced is thy duty to support. The conditions that we see, we, you, and I, and those before us produced it. Me, you, I, and those before us produced it. These beings that we see that do these things that's very ungainly is a direct reflection of us being lost. Without a doubt or contradiction, we got to accept it. It says, the importance of thy trust. The being thou produce, it's thy duty to support. I do my thing different, family. Support. Y'all may thinking about child support. Support. Y'all may thinking about food. Support means to hold up. Legs on the table, support the table. To uplift, it's your duty. See, I'm talking a universal language right now. The legs on the coffee table, support that board on top. The wheels on the car, the axle supports that car. It's thy duty to support. I'm speaking a universal language right now. We're talking community talk right now. The being that thou produce, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also dependeth upon whether the child of thy bosom be the blessing or a curse to thyself, and a useful or worthless member of the what? Community. Of the community. The teachers of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in this Holy Quran is teaching the benefit of raising one for the purpose of us all. Now, let's rewind. Consider thou art a parent. Remember, these lessons are for you. Consider thou art a parent. Have you been nurturing your higher self? Have you been nurturing or rearing your higher self? Have you been parenting your higher self? See, one thing for sure and two things for certain. You know good and well you can't teach this to anyone if you haven't taught it to yourself. Consider thou art a parent. The importance of thy trust. The higher self trust and believe that it will reach the state of fruition. The higher self trust and know that it will reach the state of fruition. With your assistance, bringing all of the elements of your human experience together and unfolding it into holy breath. The higher self trust in that. Understand the importance of that. What are you contributing to that? Consciously, I'm going too high for you. That's all right. Walk with me. The being thou hast produced is thy duty to support. Everything about you was produced by you. Everything that you face in life you brought to you to bring out the better you. The being thou produced, you produced you. It's that divine science. You produced you. Every experience that you have, every letdown that you think exists, every failure that you think exists, every overcoming that you do, every great joy that you experience, you produce that. Allah never created heaven for man. We are creators and we create our own. We make our own. We discover our own. Never created hell for man. We make our own. So everything that you experience is a direct result of you. Let that digest for a minute. This is why it's so important that we do the right thing just because it's the right thing. Because when it comes back around to you, are you really ready for what's going to come back to you? It goes on to say, upon thee dependeth on whether the child, you, whether the child, you, whether the child of thy bosom, the higher self, whether the nearest place to meet Allah in the heart. Where's the bosom? In the heart. But man was just the seed, the child. Man, I'm doing too much. You're doing too much, Grand Sheik. Well, let's do a little bit more. Upon thee also dependeth whether the child of thy bosom be a blessing or a curse. To thyself. Sometimes we look at these words, man, and we allow ourselves to let these words to resonate with a European connotation. But curse just means something that's not beneficial to you, something that befalls you because of your choice, a low vibration. So now let's really bring it to fruition. Prepare him early with instructions. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali, listen to the words. Prepare him early with instructions. The moment that you awaken, the moment that you get that, was Oprah Winfrey say, the aha moment, the moment that life begins to knock at your door and you ask the question, what is this experience all about? Right then and there, if you hear and you don't understand this, but you having some questions about this experience in life, right now, you need to prepare yourself with instructions. What must I do now? I feel that this is right. I feel something moving. What must I do? Prepare him early with instructions. Many people don't know which way to go. They need instructions. And so Prophet Noble Drew Ali gives us holy instructions to thy children. For thy children. I'm sorry. We need instructions. He or she without instructions will just go around the hamster wheel of life. They just go around circle. They on the treadmill. They going nowhere fast. We need instructions. We need to know what to do. If we knew what to do, then we would have done it already. If we knew the journey and the path on which way to go, it would have been done already. So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, prepare him early with instructions. And I like everybody gave their degree on season, but the line says, season his mind with the maximums of truth. Everybody gave their degree on that. So I might as well try my hand out. Here it is. It says, season his mind with the maximums of truth. And my degree on season is you can't put too much. You put too much salt in that demonstration, it ain't gonna be right. Season. When you season something, you gotta get a taster on that demonstration. Grandma said, here, taste this, baby. You gotta taste the spoon. Don't taste from the spoon in the soup. You gotta grab the spoon off the dish rack. You know, y'all ain't got dish rack. Y'all got dishwashers now, and I know. But anyway, you got to grab the spoon off the dish rack, and Grandma said, taste it, baby. Is it too much salt? Because Grandma knew how to season. And what the maximum of truth is, it is the best. It is the best of what comes out the cabinet. So it says, season his mind with the maximums of truth. And as Sister Robin said, we can't tell our people half truth. We can't tell our children half truth and expect them to produce a whole full life. How can we sit up here and look our child in the face and say, we honor the prophet, but don't honor what the prophet honor? How can we look our child in the face and we know we lying through our teeth? With all of these crazy little traditions that we have adopted, we know we lying through our teeth. You don't think there's a connection of why our children produce the things that they produce? Do you think it could be connected to the manipulation that we thought was fun and it was just good for children? We manipulated our children to believe in the tooth fairy. Well, I didn't. I ain't never played the tooth fairy. I ain't never played those games. But let me say we, in this sense, we manipulated our children to believe that the European coming down the chimney. And then when you got tired of the European coming down the chimney, you say, well, at least it's black. My children see a black Santa Claus. As if that's a come up. We lie to our children. And then we expect them not to fall for the lie from the pimp. We expect them don't fall from the lie from the dope boy. We expect them don't fall from the lie from the misleading corporate manager. We expect them not to fall from the lie from any which way it comes. But we raise them on a lie. How can they not fall into the lie of the dope boy got money because he got some rims on a raggedy, no good Cadillac or Caprice? How can we not expect our little girls to grow up thinking that it's okay to live a certain lifestyle if we don't check it at the door? It's not okay. Because society now say, oh, it's okay to be gay. We go with that. Well, you know, you can choose whatever you want. That's not seasoned with the maximums of truth. The maximums of truth, whether you are in religion or not, the maximums of the truth is your butthole is for pooping. That's keeping a buck. I know you don't like it. That's the maximums of truth. Nature created you for do you know what it is? If you are outside of that, I get it. But know for sure, know the measure in which need to be met. You don't lie. Many of us fall short. But the sad part is, even when we fall short, we don't teach the truth so the truth could be met. That's the sad part. Many of us fall short. I fall short. You fall short. Everybody may fall short. But the difference between me and I would hope that a Moorish American Muslim know, they know what need to be met. We know the standard. The standard is certain things are just not acceptable when developing into your God self. It's just not acceptable. So you can play with this. You can play with this and be flexible with falsehood. As our sheikh said, you can't be flexible with falsehood. You can play with this and be flexible with falsehood, and you're going to get what you got. You're going to get a whole bunch of misery. You're going to get a whole bunch of suffering. You're going to get a whole bunch of pain. You're going to get a whole bunch of misfortune. You're going to get what you got. But now let me check this out. Remember, this is the holy instruction for our children. I want to read one of my favorite stories. I remember years ago when I was probably about maybe 19 or 20. There was a time I could not understand the Bible to save me or anybody on the planet Earth. I could not understand this book. I read this demonstration over and over and over. I could not get it. It was like I was reading Chinese for like 2 years. I just could not. For the life of me, I could not get it. And I remember when I dedicated myself, I said, I need to understand this thing. One of my main concerns is I didn't see myself in it, but that's how the thought was designed. I said, I got to understand this thing. And I never forget old European preacher said to me, well, son, always said to me, I mean, probably was a deacon or something, but I remember he said, son, he used to come around to the youth center and pass out them old tracks. Y'all ever see them track books where they scare you to death? Yeah, they scare you. They got all the drawings, the cartoons where people in hell and fire all over place, the devil with the horns all over. Y'all ain't never seen them? Back in the day, they used to pass them out, scare you, try to scare you to heaven. Man, scare me. I'm not reading this crazy stuff. Man, they tell me they're gnashing at the teeth and people screaming and screeching and scratching to get out of hell. I said, good goodness of Christ. He would come past those demonstrations out. You know what I'm talking about? But anyway, I said, they understand this stuff. Old pastor said to me, he said, well, son, pick one story at a time. Just read one story at a time. And I'll never forget it. I read the story of the prodigal son. One of my favorite stories. And I think people don't pay attention to this story close enough. But I want to read a couple pieces of the prodigal son because this is the holy instructions for our children. And I want you to pay close attention real quick. I ain't going to go too long. I just want to read a couple pieces. And I know you're probably thinking, well, I heard this story before. Let me just go on and see what's else on the internet. But I'm going to tell you, you didn't hear this story like this. We're talking about Islamism in the Orthodox way today. We're talking about something that's universal. And so when you go to the book of Luke, chapter 15, and I'll start with the beginning for a second. Verse 11, it says, Jesus said, he's telling a parable here. A certain man had two sons. The youngest son said to his father, Father, give me my share of inheritance. Remember, this was the younger son. You got to pay attention to these things. The younger son said, I got to listen to this. I know y'all probably say, man, Grand, she did turn it to Pastor Chickenfoot. No, I didn't. I want to give you the wisdom of this thing. He said, Father, give me my share of the inheritance. Then the father divided his estate between them. Soon afterwards, the younger son gathered everything together and took a trip to a land far away. Now I can break down the science about this land far away, talking about he went into the land of fleshly things where the things are manifested and the murky ethers of the flesh drove him off the cliff a little bit. I can go all up in there, but that's not the point that I want to make here tonight. But it goes on in verse 14. It says, when he had used up his resources, a severe food shortage arose in that country, and he began to be in need. Pay close attention to this, family. He hired himself out to one of the citizens of the country who sent him in the field to feed the pigs. He longed to eat his fill from what the pigs ate, but no one gave him anything. It got real bad. He wanted to eat pig food. He wanted to eat pig slop. It got real bad. But no one gave him anything. And then verse 17 says, when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have more than enough food? Stop right there. It said when he came to his senses. Divine science of parenting is seizing their mind with the maxims of truth while they're young. He came to his senses because originally Father had put sense up in him. Father taught him right. He chose to go left. That's why I say it ain't over. If you know you teach your children right, if you know you taught your children right, and your children choose to go left, remember what I said in the beginning about the fruit. It says that when he came to his senses, you can't come to your senses if you ain't got none. And when he came to his senses, the child have to come to their senses. You do all that you can do. You teach all that you can teach. You give your greater self and your better self. The divine science of parenting is you do the best what you got with what you have. And then it says, and when he came to his senses, in other words, his life was a blur. He didn't know up from down. He didn't know left from right. He didn't know if he willeth or willeth not. He was all messed up. But whatever the father taught him, or in the sense the mother teaches the child, it is there. It's up to them to come to what? To their senses. This is from the Bible. Luke verse 15. Chapter 15, I'm moving on down. And when he came to his senses, he says, how many of my father's hired hands have more than enough food? But I'm starving to death. I will get up and I will go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. For him to make the statement that I have sinned against heaven is the indication that his father taught him of the higher self and the lower self, taught him of the universal science, that his first duty is to who and to what? Almighty God. That shows that father taught him that his first duty is to Almighty God. Because he said, I sinned against what? Against heaven. And heaven is a state of mind. Heaven is a productive state of mind. Heaven is the pure state of mind. Heaven is the pure state of existence. He said, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Take me as one of your hired hands. So he got up and went to his father. And while he was still a long way off, we have to consider, even in the mission of coming together, our children, our people, they may still be a long way off. This is verse 20. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion. His father ran to him and hugged him and kissed him. Then his son said, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you, and I no longer deserve to be called your son. He acknowledged that his first obligation is to God. That's a heavy demonstration right there. So whatever you have instilled in your children, if it's good, if it's supposed to come out, it will come out. If they decide to go into the land, there's nothing you can do about it. That's not on you. And you should not walk with that. You should not walk with that. Again, you are just the portal in which that life is expressed and manifest in this realm. It is selfishness to want someone to develop at our pace. It is ignorance and foolishness to would hope that someone, just because they come from our loins, that they should be that they should be developing at the pace that we expect. Their journey is their journey too. This is the divine science of parenting. The divine science of parenting is you do all that you do for the best and the greater good for the seed in which thou produced. And when you have done all that you can do, now you got to let it do what it do. So this is for the parents that may not understand why some children go left, why some children go right. You did what you were supposed to do. Even if you think you fell short, even if you think you slipped along the way, it does not matter. All things work for the better good. The only thing in this world is God. The only devil in this world is the one that you made up. The only thing in this world is Almighty Creator, whom we choose to call Allah. If there's a devil in this world, I tell you what, either God created or you made it. Either God created it or you made it. Now, which one? Who want to take the charge? Who want to give the charge? We want to give the charge to God, or we want to give the charge to ourselves? So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that regardless of how life hands you the plate, it is what it is. It's a 4-course meal. Take what you can, leave what you can. Life is what it is. Give your children the best of you. And if you do that, regardless of what that best is, it's going to come out. It may not come out in the way that you expect it to come out. It may not come out in a way that you would hope it would manifest, but it's there. So listen, let me slide on down real quick. The other son, the older son said, hold up, wait a minute. The older son said, look, in verse 29, he said, look, I have served you all these years, and I never disobeyed your instruction. Yet you never given me as much as a young goat, so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours returned after gobbling up your estate on prostitutes, see, this is why Jesus is so serious. This is the part they don't like to put emphasis on. It says that the young one gobbled up his estate on prostitutes in my Bible. He was tricking off. That's what he was doing. He was running with the ladies of the night, they like to call them. But his father took none of that into consideration. The only thing that his father took in consideration, let's read, and you slaughtered the fatted calf for him. Then his father said, son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive. Our sheik said, you know, you got one son that do right, one child that go right, one child that go left. But did this father, did he panic? Did he worry? Did he boo-hoo? His son went and got prostitutes. He spent all his money, and he was going so bad, he wanted to eat the pig's lunch. He wanted to eat the pig's lunch. Did the father cry? Did the father panic? Did the father get upset? Did the father boo-hoo? Did the father go chase him? Did the father say, come on home, baby? Come on, baby, do right. I love you, baby. Please do right. Why are you doing this to yourself, baby? You know what father did? Father went on about his business. Father did what he had to do. Father made sure that the family was there to receive him when he come back. And, he actually came back. For sometimes, some might don't make it back, but it's okay. Let me tell you, when you do the best that you can do, you leave this world with a good conscience. So our prophet teaches us about the 12-step ladder. One of the things that he had to teach that child, obedience, but that child was supposed to be disobedient. Just because the child chooses to be disobedient don't mean that you ain't teaching the child obedience. I was one of them ones that wanted to do what I wanted to do. He said, teach him obedience, and he shall bless thee. Teach him modesty, and he shall not be ashamed. Just because children choose not to be modest, that doesn't mean that they wasn't taught that. You know they used to say that back in the day. I don't know where that child get that from. I didn't raise you like that. I didn't raise you like that. I don't know where that child. But listen, I am a product of the prodigal son. I was one that wanted to see things from a different perspective. Fortunately, I came back alive. My mother can tell this story for me. I don't have to tell this story. My mother can tell this story for me, and I'm pretty sure my mother is probably watching right now. Pretty sure. Almost 100% sure. If not, she'll watch it tomorrow. But I am a product of this. And so the point that I'm making is my mother demonstrated this. When I act a fool, man, my mother ain't come chase me. You know how some mothers go crazy about their sons? Man, I question if my mother really loved me. Well, I'm gone. Okay. You don't want to obey my rules, you got to go anyway. My mother was hardcore. Sure enough, I had to question, man, do my mother really love me? This woman crazy. She just gonna, I'm like 16. Where am I asleep tonight? I'm acting all big and bad. But my mother just let you go. You know what I'm saying? And my mother had a favorite saying. She said, if you like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. My mother ain't play. She was hardcore with philosophy. If you like it, I love it. And she wasn't going to do you a whole bunch of favors while you acting a fool. You better try your chance at the dope game, because you ain't getting no favors over here acting out like that. Better try your hand with something else, because you ain't getting no favors. That's how my mother carried. But let me tell you something. When I began to demonstrate Islamism, when I began to put my all into Islamism years later, and what I mean is not going to the temple continuously, but I begin to reflect it in my walk. I begin to change things about myself. I begin to change friends that I hung around. I begin to do things in a way that was written in the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I've never, ever, and any of my friends, and I got a lot of homeboys and friends that watch me to this day, they can never, ever tell you that I ever forced Islamism down their throat. They can never tell you that. They would never ever tell you that I ever overpowered a conversation about Prophet Noble Drew Ali. They can never tell you that. And when I decided to go and give it my all, even right now, support is through the roof. Because they even knew I was dead. And whether they acknowledge Prophet Noble Drew Ali as a prophet, or Moorish science is a perfect way of life, or Islamism is a perfect way of life, they can see by what I demonstrate that it's real. So the point that I'm making is, it all started from what my mother, my grandmother, my father put in me. And so we back to the same thing. The holy instructions for thy children. The universal holy instructions for thy children. Don't ever lie to yourself, because if you lie to yourself, you're going to lie to whoever you concerned with. The boogeyman is not under the bed. Santa is not coming down the chimney. Lil Cupid next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, he's not going to be floating around with a bow and arrow. And you're going to fall in love. It's not going to happen. Don't teach your children that. Because again, the trick of these false traditions is to prepare your child to accept a lie when they get older. Easter bunny laying eggs. Bunnies laying eggs. That's coming up in April. It's only preparing them to accept the pimp, to accept the corporate pimp, to accept the college professor pimp, to accept the dope boy, to accept the stripper club owner, to accept all type of foolishness. Because if you as a parent and that child is supposed to trust you to help them develop and you lie to them, why wouldn't anybody else would be able to lie to them? Say, oh, it ain't that serious. At least I'm getting paid. I ain't worrying about Santa Claus. At least I'm getting a gift. I know it ain't real, but at least I'm getting a gift. I'll go ahead and I could just dance a couple nights just to get some extra money. At least I'm getting paid. But it all starts from the lie. And so it says, season his mind with the maximums of truth. And then the last but not least, I close with this. It said, teach him science and his life shall be useful. In other words, science is, and I'm not talking about from a European perspective. Science is the basic concept of knowing how to reduce something to the most purest form so you can see what it is. As the Prophet Noble Ali teaches us that the body must disintegrate. Disintegrate means to be broken down into particles. You see what I'm saying? And this is death. The true science of life is being able to reduce something to the most basic, simple form. And then apply yourself to it. It said, teach him science and his life will be useful. In other words, as Sister Robin said tonight, Sister Robin said tonight, I've always said, there's only two things, and I repeat it all the time, what the prophet said. We're not going to be in the gray area. There's truth, there's falsehood. There's right, there's wrong. There's up, there's down. You know, and I'll use this example again. When you're looking at the situation of the LGBT community, they know the truth. They know what the function of a physical body is for. This doesn't take some long debate. Everybody know what the function of the physical body is for. Every part of the body. We know what a hand for. We know what an eye for. We know what an ear's for. We know what it's for. And we can go all the way around the mulberry bush and get to the ultimate truth. So never ever convince yourself of a lie. Never. Because the moment you convince yourself of a lie, your life is going awry. It said, teach him science and his life will be useful. Reduce something to the most purest understanding and the most simplest understanding. It said, teach him religion and his death shall be happy. As my brother C. Scott L. said, I mean, death is an illusion. It's not even real. Teach him religion and his death should be happy. Teach him hadith, teach him religion. Teach him Catholicism, teach him religion. Teach him religion. And what is religion? Religion is realigning or binding yourself back from the source of which you came. Teach him religion and his death shall be happy. Teach him religion, bind him back to the source of which he came, and he know that death is an illusion. So to go back to the source of which you came, that ain't nothing but a joy. That would be happy. If you teach someone that you come from God, and to God you shall return, everybody want to die. everybody love God, but don't nobody want to die. Y'all remember that saying? Everybody love the Lord. Don't nobody want to go meet him. only one that want to go see the Lord is Aunt Shirley. When somebody up in the casket, it said, "Take me, Lord," and then her heart stopped beating. Said, "Oh, I was joking." I'm just playing Aunt Shirley. I ain't got an Aunt Shirley for real. That's a joke. But the point that I'm making is this, family. Religion is about binding yourself back to the Creator. And that journey to binding yourself back to the Creator comes in various forms. One of the best forms of getting back in tune with the Creator is nature. And all this book is an expression of nature. How things naturally correspond with the universe. That's what this book is all about. This book is about how human beings naturally correspond with the universe. And that's nature. With that being said, Islam, peace and love. I yield the floor to our Sheikh S. McCallum. I hope I said something here tonight to uplift you. I hope I said something to encourage you. If you are a parent, the divine science of parenting. Be happy with what you have done. Be happy for what you have instilled. And if you feel that you missed the mark, all things happen for the greater good. They got to happen because that being must chart their own journey and be their own opposition or their own propeller. It is what it is. And you can't feel guilty about none of it because you know you gave your best. I put you on the phone with my mother. Shoot, my mother tell you in a minute. Shoot, she don't play around. Shoot, you like it, I love it. It's love and peace and love, family. I'm out of here.